Grown Geeks, thank you once again for checking in. Loki, episode 4. Grown Geeks doing the quick hit recap, like literally watch the episode, getting into the show. Be sure to hit that like button, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and be sure to hit that notification bell if you are not trying to keep up to date on everything we have going on with the show. We have a lot of big things in the works behind the scenes for Grown Geeks. For this today's panel, we have the man, the myth, the Marvel, Will Parker, up top. How are we doing today, sir?
Fantastic.
And we have me as host. I know we'd all prefer Jeffrey, but Jeffrey's unable to make today's call. So we're just going to do the best we can with what we got, kind of make do with how things are going. Before we get too in depth, this is full on spoiler. We're not waiting for anything. We're literally posting it now. If you're subscribed to YouTube, you're getting the most up to date content available and possible with our timeline. So I know group will have to wait till Monday, but at the same time, it's going to drop on YouTube the minute this video is done. There's going to be no waiting, no warning. This is literally full on spoiler, just a heads up for everybody. Before we get any further along, how'd you feel about Loki episode 4?
I thought it was great. So that another company seemed to give it a 5 and stuff like that. I definitely think that they're giving us the backstory elements that we need for certain things. They're kind of they're spoon feeding us piece by piece as we go. But it's everything's starting to come together now. Everything's adding up, and this is why it's really making it more interesting. And then the ending, of course. Whew, yeah.
There
So
was there was some stuff because literally I finished this episode and literally the only thing I could say was what the fuck, and what the fuck. I was completely lost for a brief moment in time, and I literally messaged you as soon as I finished the episode. I'm like, hey, let me know when you finish. I need to talk about this. There's just how much information was packed into that like mid-season finale was just nuts. And for a show that most people honestly weren't all that hyped about, everyone's on the train right now and everyone is enjoying what's going on. I think that may have been Marvel's best TV episode of any of their 3 series thus far. Is that fair to say?
Uh, I gotta so offhand, I'll give it to him and stuff like that. I gotta go back through and just kind of scrutinize. But as far as visually appealing stuff, definitely one of the best. So with that, content wise and stuff, as far as story progression goes, I'll give it to him. As far as impact goes, maybe not as much,
Like
but
there was a one or two episodes of WandaVision where they had a bigger reveal that changed the whole landscape of the entire series. So that was something we could definitely get behind because I mean the Agatha all along twist was definitely something that you called early on, but at the same time was like for a casual viewer like myself, it was kind of oh, did not see that coming at all. Even though I'd been pre warned by you, like what from episode 2, episode 3, maybe you were early on in the get that hey something's up, something they gotta give. See, I give you some love. Throw in an
yeah,
early WandaVision, be like, hey, you were right about something.
I'll take
Not
it.
Mephisto.
Hey, it's not over yet.
We don't. We just don't know. And as we go through the series of events, we start off on Asgard with young Lady Sylvie, who at that time could have been Loki. That actress happened to play Rey from Star Wars, like a young Rey, like when her parents are flying away in the comeback scene and the horrible trilogy that I hate speaking about, but there was a lot of elements from that trilogy in this episode, so unfortunately I'll have to revisit it time and time again. She's just out there playing with. It looked like she had like toy ships and she was doing like war or something like that.
It was a Norse ship, and little the Norse style dolls and stuff like that, little wooden car figures.
And then the TVA just busts in. All right, that's the variant. Literally just grab her in the middle of Asgard. You think that the Asgardians would have something to stop something of this nature or to protect their own or whatever the case may be, but literally in out, bing bang boom, time bomb set, reset the timeline, just gone. Kidnaps her, show her on trial, And the funny thing about the whole trial was we got a peek of young Renslayer, who
Mm.
looks literally just as down to business as she does now in our timeline, where we've got, you know, Loki and an aged up Sylvie. How? Who was that judge though? Does that character play any kind of importance, or is it just they literally just had a different one at that time?
The judge doesn't ring a bell. It's just her predecessor, whenever she rose to the ranks and stuff like that. One thing I will say definitely about freaking this one is that obviously Renslayer looks a little more disheveled and stuff like that in terms of when Tempad was taken and stuff like that. It was more or less like, huh, what? Like, I don't know. She seemed a little bit freaking off. Like as she's older, she's more cold and calculating and stuff like that. She's hardened as time went on and stuff like that. But she looked like any other hunter and stuff like that. She was a little taken aback by like just doing her job. Hey, let's grab this variant. And then when the variant, hey, pickpocket, I'm out. She looked confused. She looked like, wow, what really?
It's
And it
like, did
seems
I
like
just
she's
get
had,
Jack by a kid?
yeah, and it seems like she's had this long-standing vendetta ever since then against her because Sylvie, Lady Loki, she's been running for a while and stuff like that. For her to, grow up the way she's had, so like that, and Renslayer hasn't changed. Like it's been a minute. So this has been something that's been weighing heavily on Renslayer's mind, as well as who knows how much of a plan she's been concocting when she started concocting whatever plan she's got going on, or who else is involved. Because as we all know, with the TVA and stuff like that, freaking from what Loki has mentioned, hey, people are variants. So when did all this stuff come about? Time moves differently here, but we don't even know when time necessarily started. They just know they got access to time. So
Like, we don't even know if they're pre Thanos, they're post Thanos, whether or not they literally just popped up and then they started correcting things from the past to fit whatever timeline they need to have going on, depending upon who's literally the big bad. Which, at this point in time, we still, at this point in the episode, we still believe the TVA is kind of the big bad, because there's no one else that stepped up. Like, our anti heroes, for all intents and purposes, are our heroes. We have them just trying to fight for their, quote unquote innocence, even though you go into the series and Loki is guilty as hell. There's nothing he can do or say about it.
it depends on who's giving the guilt. So how guilty is he, depending on what's going on. He did what he needs to do to survive. And again, like, I'm a look slight red string here. You think about freaking when did TVA come about? When all this stuff happened? Why is he being deemed as whatever? Like anything happened. We don't know when time travel happened. What if Harley Keener, which Harley say was a fake name, what if that is, the Iron Lad and stuff like that? What if when Tony died and stuff like that, because all the tech for the Mobius strip was there at the house where the funeral was, where Harley Keener was? What if at the end of that episode they're all having a reception? He found the technology, took it, and that's where he started becoming Kang the Conqueror, and then it went back in time from there. And then we started getting everything. And that's why one of the first variants they took is named Mobius, because he took the Mobius strip from Tony Stark. I don't know. I can red string the shit out of this, but there's stuff going on here, and I got a lot of fucking questions. So
Hey, I'm right there with you, and I'm sure most of our viewers are right there with you, because there were so many different curveballs thrown through our episode. And as we move through, Lady Sylvie literally jacking that, wristwatch, just bye, just dipping out. We end up going back to Lamentus, where we have, Sylvie and Loki, and they're just kind of sitting there waiting for their fate. It was very much akin to Star Wars Rogue One, where you have Jyn Erso and I think it's Jyn Erso and the other chick, and they're literally just waiting for the planet to blow up. They're just sitting there right at the beachfront, waiting for the end and the impending doom of what's going on. They're just sitting there talking about their feelings and all the things that are going on. Sylvie's opening up to Loki because, I mean, at this point, she has no one else to talk to, and she's just like, I was just a kid when this happened. I don't know why it happened. I don't know how it happened. I've been searching for answers, living on the run ever since, which makes you feel for the character.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of that stuff, to give you deeper, perspective on the characters and what they're dealing with. So we get deeper on both sides of Loki and stuff like that. And freaking yeah, Loki will probably freaking hey, Loki gets a chance, freaking Loki will probably bang himself. Who fucking knows? It don't matter.
Norse mythology is trippy.
Yeah, it really is to that. But when it comes down to it, the thing that I'm most concerned about is their interaction caused an irregular spike in the sacred
It was
timeline. That
most of
branch
them are kind of like weeble wobbly. That one was straight north.
that was trending, because usually what happens is that what we've seen, if you look at past of that, a branch will pick up and then parallel. That's where we get the parallel universes and stuff like this. This one was going perpendicular, like not completely, but it was going trending up and so like that, which means it started going this way, but whatever they were doing and so like that was causing that type of nexus event was freaking driving it upwards and stuff like that, which could skew reality all in itself. So that, and I believe all of this is still tied to the multiverse of madness, including Strange, because we've already seen Loki and Strange have interaction. So that, like, I think it's gonna all come down to freaking Scarlet Witch, Loki, and Doctor Strange really having to do some mystical magical shit to put the universe back in order.
Some serious heavy hitter magic, not like everyday. Here's some fireworks from my hand trick kind of thing. Like literally,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to save the entire universe, and seeing that team like try and get just work together, I think would honestly be hilarious. Especially considering how much more powerful Wanda is from where Loki first met her to where she is now, and you just kind of be like, damn, I guess this is a thing. So that was interesting. And then to stop, this literally what appears to be like Nexus event, because the whole timeline is just the most skewed it's ever been, according to like Mobius. They open up the door. Next thing you know, Sylvie and Loki are led away in chains through the TVA. Got the collar, got wrists all tied up. Would lead them to separate interrogation rooms. You kind of look at B-15. She's kind of tripping in and out, but like she's still put on a very good game face. She's just kind of like, okay, this is happening. I need to keep character, like, and then as the interrogations go on, Mobius is kind of like, hey, he goes to Renslayer and they're having, their celebratory drink. We got the variants. Job's done. Case closed. And then he's kind of like, hey, I want to take point with Sylvie. He's like, I know Loki escaped, but I can break her. I can get her, done. Bing, bang, boom. No, not a thing. Don't worry about it. Renslayer immediately shuts that shit down. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't even wait. And
She's got ulterior motives.
And as the conversation kept progressing, you could kind of see that Mobius his faith is being shaken, because Loki, as he's being led away, I missed a huge point here. Loki drops this huge bomb on Mobius, like, hey, everything's a lie. Everything you're doing, everything you're seeing was pre-implanted memories, and they wiped away yours. It's like, you are literally a slave to the TVA. Like, you need to break free. You guys had a life before this. I know this is all you know right now, but Sylvie's telling the truth. You guys are all just being used. And then Mobius threw him away in that, time cell. And Mobius, as his conversation with Renslayer is playing out, you can kind of see his faith is being shaken, as literally every suggestion he's had is just being swatted away.
That whole period's a breakdown period, like that entire set. So you look at B-15, so at that freaking she's having her breakdown, and so at that freaking she's the first one to like really solidly freaking have the breakdown. So because Loki already knows this shit is weird, so he doesn't necessarily need to be broken down in terms of what the reality of the TVA is. B-15 has her breakdown. She knows something going on. She goes and gets, asks her questions, so at that, and that's where she gets the new truth. And so that, again, we don't know how much is truth. We don't know how much is being lied about, what's going on right now. Of course, we're all leaning more towards Sylvie through that because of what we've seen through the later events of the show. But again, it's like, okay, what was B-15 going through? All right, so we know the C-20 was going through the same thing, and Renslayer had to nix that freaking in the bud and stuff like that. Freaking at some point, like, nah, we got her locked up. Freaking, we got to deal with that. while she's being broken, so that Loki's being broken in a different way. And so his breakdown comes from like dealing with Sif and the being alone part. The fact that he found someone that he likes, which is more like him, back on Lamentus, and now freaking the thought of losing her is shaking him to his core. And so at that. And I'm not just gonna gloss over, hey, I was very happy to see Sif in some aspect.
Oh yeah,
Like that
she's
was
always
that
been great in every single Thor property she's been in. I mean, I know a couple of the movies have been duds. She has done a phenomenal job whenever we've seen
she's
her. It's
always
great.
done good. And the fact that she's there, so there's like, because we still don't know what happened to her during the regular timeline.
No, because we
Like,
saw her in Thor the first one, we saw her in the Dark World, and she popped up in Agents of Shield, and then we haven't seen her for 6 years. Like
yeah,
there's
Sif is
gaps.
still out there. She's still alive somewhere, as far as I know. She wasn't when Ragnarok happened, so Sif is still running around. She's probably off planet, so at that we know the Warriors 3 ate it. So is what it is. But seeing Sif was freaking nice. But she helped freaking with that Loki breakdown and stuff like that. So you got B-15 broke down, you got Loki breakdown. Sylvie already started having her breakdown when she really started interacting with Loki and stuff like that. And as people are starting to understand her cause and what she's doing, she's becoming more trusting because she's been able to show them the truth. I.e., she trusted B-15 to do what she needed to do later on. She's trusting Loki to do what he needs to do during their events to a degree and stuff like that. So everything was been a breakdown period so that, and then Mobius was the last one to really catch on and stuff like that. And that's the whole office scene and stuff like that, or the second office scene, and that's where it really takes so that. So with that office scene, what were where did you see it in the office scene with him?
We're talking about the second interrogation after Mobius had jumped into the time cell and be like, look, we gotta get out of here, or is it pre that?
The one freaking where he switched the pads.
When Mobius switched the pads, it was the most basic Hollywood cliche of like, hey, look over there, and then literally just, switch it, pocket it, and then he's like immediately just like, hey, I gotta get out of here, and Renslayer is just on it. Immediately
Yeah.
like, hey, you normally stay for a couple drinks. The hell? It's like when you have that one good drinking buddy and they decide to just come out. It's like, hey, I'm just only here for a beer, and they leave. You're like, well, that
Something's
was
going.
weird.
Something's going on. You're worried about your friend because they were friends and stuff like that.
Like, because
Like,
Mobius broke his character to an extent. He was just kind of like, I gotta go. Like,
yeah,
deuces.
freaking the shroud is falling and stuff like that, and that's where freaking and the doubt was in there and stuff like that, and he's taking that doubt with him and stuff. And as they're having conversations with, he's like, well, let me just trust my instinct because again, he's been lying to himself a lot and stuff like that with the whole jet ski and stuff like that. The lies he tells himself, hey, we're here. This is our purpose. This is what we're doing. And who knows what else Mobius has been thinking about? It could have been more than just jet skis and stuff like that. His shroud could have been falling a lot freaking more than everyone else's because he could have been there longer than everyone else. So freaking the hold on him, could have been weaker over time. So it was easier. Like he didn't need nobody to touch him and show him memories and so that he was already having them. They were already there.
Yeah,
He
like
just
he
didn't know
had
how to deal
some
with them.
deep buried thoughts, but like having these truths being revealed to him is just kind of like they're slowly rising to the surface. And he had to go to the library and be like, all right, look, I'm gonna see what happened. I'm gonna double check because like all they said about C20 is that she perished. And he's like, no, 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 I saw her. She was fine. I mean, like she was having a mental breakdown, but she was fine. She was still talking. She was still speaking. Like she was still doing everything a regular person would do who's just suffered a traumatic event, just kind of going through shock, eventually coming out, and then should be fine. And then as he digs through that, time pad, literally he sees that C20 was A, fine, B, completely cognizant of everything going on, and C, she was literally saying, I just want to go back to my timeline. I looked happy. I had a life before this. I was a person
Mm-hmm.
before this. There was nothing wrong with what I was doing before this. It's like, you guys just showed up and took me, and Renslayer, who was apparently the one doing the interview, was like, no, no, no. You need to calm down. You need to, like, get your shit together. Stop what you're doing. It's like, you need to, calm down, come back to our reality. Not her reality. Our reality. And then she nips that interview right in the bud, and she kind of does the rookie mistake of an interrogation, popping her head into the camera ever so slightly. Mobius zooms in on her and is like, so you've been lying to me. We were friends, we were pals, we had history. How did you take that interrogation scene? Was there anything that really jumped out to you from that?
Nothing really jumped out. I mean, just the fact is she's trying to shut everything down, and the thing is, she's got people in her pockets with that because nobody freaking else in the TVA like doubted anything except that unless they were exposed to the magic and stuff like that from Sylvie and stuff like that, except for Mobius. He's the only one who has some level of free will, and I think that's more or less because that's Renslayer's favorite and stuff like that, and he needs to be able to operate. So how long he's been operating. Again, it's like a tree, sort of that. Like it's gonna grow as long as you're watering it. As soon as you stop watering it, freaking what happens? It's gonna start to rot. It's gonna start to fall apart. And I think that's what's going on with his memories and stuff like that. Everything, freaking the whole shroud that's around him is starting to rot, it's starting to fall apart because he's been there for so long. He didn't need any effect on him to do that. Like it's just happening. So his doubt freaking was already been seated a long time ago. So when the interrogation necessarily flipped and stuff like that, and she was just like, okay, freaking something's up, something's not right with you, and stuff like that. Freaking, and he's going through his motions. It's like, yeah, she wants to do whatever it takes to make sure that things are going according to whatever plan she's got going. And you can see it, she looked pained when she said prune. When she came over like, hey, we got to prune, and so like that, she looked hurt that she had to do it, but she had no doubt. She had conviction that she needed to do it.
And the pruning you're referencing is when Mobius decides to break through Loki's, time cell of eternal loop of Civ just kneeing him in the balls just as many times as they can literally possibly do through that infinite time loop, akin to like what Doctor Strange did to Dormammu to defeat him. It's like, all right, cool, we'll just do an infinite loop until you're like, okay, my bad. Literally kept doing that to Loki for his character growth and for him to, just kind of deal with everything that he's done in his past a little bit. Mobius breaks through and is like, hey, we gotta go. What if I believe you? What do we do? Like, how do we fix what's going on? Literally picks up Loki the minute he gets back. Then the pruning begins. Not even waiting, not even time to assess the situation. Mobius is literally went from this side of the fence to this side of the fence immediately. He was like, Team TVA. Now he's Team Loki, Sylvie, and he's just like, yeah, this is all bull. I don't believe any of this anymore. It's like you guys have been manipulating us from the get. And as you're talking about, Renslayer decided to prune him, and Loki kind of had that big eyeball moment. So you could tell that Loki actually had some care in the world for what's going on with Mobius, which is definitely different from what Loki has shown throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He hasn't really been attached to much anybody other than Frigga. It's like Thor, he did the right thing, and well, it wasn't Endgame, but he tried in his own Loki way to show he cared.
Yeah, he was attached to Frigga, Thor, and Odin and stuff like that. Freaking, because they were his parents that raised him, so he had attachments. Even though, I mean, because think about it, it's with all kids and stuff like that. Like you love your parents and stuff like that to a degree and stuff like that, and it's like there's time when you want to do your own thing and you think you deserve more, or you're supposed to be this, and that you tend to come back. It's like yeah, unless some really fucked up shit happens or whatever. Like yeah, these are my parents, so that so you're gonna care when something happens to them. Same thing with Thor. So that's where like they fight, they argue. Me and my brother, we fight, we argue, and sort of that. Freaking, we come back together eventually. Like we have our issues. So it's the same thing. But the fact that he's starting to care for more people, freaking outside of himself, again speaks volumes and stuff like that for his reality and what he's known. And again, since the first episode, he's been going through this character arc of understanding and so like that, which he's still currently in and so like that. And like we don't know how this is going to turn out for Loki and so like that. We have no idea how much this is going to affect him. But obviously, it's him having these effects are obviously causing issues with the timeline. So this can go far left or far right freaking very quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that are going on, and then as Mobius gets pruned, it jumps back to B-15 kind of having a breakdown in the hallway. She's freaking out. She's looking at the TVA propaganda posters, and then it looks like an idea clicks in her mind. She's like, look, I need to speak to the prisoner, get the hell out of my way. Everybody's like, I don't want any of that. Pardons breaks through, B-15 goes in, talks to Sylvie, is like, all right, we need to go now. Opens up a door, literally walks through it as, probably a sign of good faith, because I'm sure if I was Sylvia, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go get whacked in this room. Like, this is literally the casino scene. All right, you're about to get made. Bang. Dead.
Yeah. See, I was thinking about B-15. I don't like, and I understand this has to happen with certain things. B-15 was used as a plot device. And so at that, like, she didn't really get any character building. She got awakened, so to speak, and so that. And, she was used to, get the collars off. That was her whole purpose. Get the collars off so they could fight freely, and so that, and bring the sword. And then she got knocked out. So I'm curious as to what's going to happen with B-15, so that like we could literally not hear anything else from B-15, and it wouldn't affect the story one bit, and so that. Or she could get up and be used as part of the story, and eventually towards the end, maybe we can see her return to her timeline or something. I don't know.
Because we know nothing about her, because she's an
We don't know nothing
entirely
about her.
original character. She has no comic ties. She could literally do whatever the hell she wants within the confines of the cinematic universe, and it would have no bearing. We'd have nowhere to be like, well, in the comics, she did this. She's new.
Yeah, and that's another thing. People don't look. Comics aren't going to be the same. They're going to make changes. They're going to do stuff. Like, don't worry about what exactly happened in the comics. It's all reference material. So, again, I want them to do stuff new. I want them to surprise me and so with that. So, but right now, again, B-15 is literally just kind of there.
And like B-15 had her big breakdown. They went back to the the Rock's Cart paradox, or where the whole area there is just annihilated. And she's like, all right, show me again my memories. Show me it's real. Show me this isn't BS you put in there. And Sylvie's like, I can't make up new memories for you. All I can do is show you what you've had. And, touches her arm, and then B-15, I think she breaks down crying, but due to the heavy rain, it's kind of hard to ascertain what really happened. She starts, look, I looked happy, and she looked like she was about ready to do like a jailbreak, so to speak. But the next thing you know, Sylvie's in chains. B-15 is nowhere in sight, just gone. So that was pretty interesting. As they're being led away, they get taken to the elevator, and it's Renslayer and like a group of 2 other TVA agents. Renslayer literally is like, "Hey, I got this." From your perspective, what did you think when you saw Renslayer just, wielding it like that, just letting everybody go? Because if I was her, the last thing I want to be do is stuck with 2 Norse gods, in an elevator just chilling.
Well, the thing is, she got lulled into the false sense of security. I got this. I got the collars on him. I got the little rerun stick. Freaking like, she's good to go. So she's comfortable. So at that. So yeah, she's got it. So at that, and I think it's more or less because, whoever like the man behind the curtain and stuff like that, freaking, is about to show himself. We're about to see the timekeepers and stuff like that. So she's like, I don't need nothing and stuff. I got them. I'm good. So that's fine. So at that, plus you already had the 2 to 4 guards that are already in there. They got to fight 4 guards and so at that. They're all constantly there. So at that, guarding the timekeepers. So it's like, yeah, she's fine. She's cocky. She's confident and stuff like that. But even when it got down to it, so that like, I still don't think she's the one in charge. I still think that she's just again doing what she's told.
She's the head puppeteer that people can see, but there's still a man behind the curtains pulling her strings and orchestrating what exactly is going on. It's like, as they go down the elevator, I'm just going to say first reaction when I saw the timekeepers, like, they're not real. They're not in charge. You literally looked at them, and if you saw Star Wars, like The Last Jedi, as soon as you saw Snoke in person, you're like, that's not the main villain. That's crap. It's like, there's nothing about that. If you're going to create a big bad that looks serious. They looked cartoonish. They looked Muppet-like. It wasn't anything even remotely resembling what a big bad would be.
For these guys who are in charge of the sacred timeline, so like that, I got more chills from freaking seeing Thanos turn in the Avengers when they said court death and didn't even say a word, just that turn and that smile. That was so much more powerful than whatever this shit is that they showed.
Yeah, because as soon as you see him, you're just like, okay, yep, there's another villain. This isn't it.
And then be a real boy.
And then the more they go through, like, the whole, like, oh, you disturbed the sacred timeline speech that they give, and, like, the one on the far right, I could barely understand what he was even trying to articulate. It was just, like, mumble, mumble, mumble. It was just garbage. And you're just looking at me like, okay, like, good
He's
for
having
you.
microphone issues.
Probably just had an off day, or just their programming was off. And as things, you know, naturally break down, we put two gods of mischief in the same room. They go ham on everybody. B-15 shows up, starts helping them bust out, tosses Sylvie's knife to her. So, she literally just walked in Renslayer's office. Take that. Broke through probably the two guards at the elevator, or just said, hey, I need to go see the, timekeepers. They summoned me, and no one's going to think twice about it because very few people have, like, that access. The whole fight scene breaks out. Sylvie beheads the timekeeper that everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's King the Conqueror. And then suddenly everyone's like, oh.
I was so happy when they did that because I was like, please shut the fuck up. Everybody who said that was Kang, I was like, it's not him. Like, his look maybe freaking influenced how they look and stuff like that. Freaking, but like it wasn't him, stuff like that. So thankfully they did the whole beheading thing because that just, it's less shit I gotta explain and stuff like that. And it gets down to like, hey, we know freaking, Renslayer knows some shit because she unbuttoned her jacket and she's ready to fucking scrap and stuff like that. So with everybody scrapping, everybody getting into it, and everything getting said and done with the head chopped off, obviously Renslayer, who got up, was not surprised at any of that freaking happening.
There was no look of shock. There was no oh shit moment. There was just kind of like, all right, I guess I'll have to clean this up.
Nope. Loki took forever to say what he's trying to say, which Loki being at a loss for words is not usual.
It showed very good character growth on Marvel's part with Tom Hiddleston. And he's done a phenomenal job acting throughout the series. I can't say enough of what he's done. And then, okay, what's her name? Female Loki. Sophia DiMartino. I wanted to make sure I got her name correctly. Like,
yeah, I'm bad with names.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everything is good. And of course, he took too long, so at that, and he didn't get to say what he'd say. He got pruned and so at that by Renslayer. So it's like, oh my god, Loki's gone. And so at that, freaking like the show's called Loki. We still got one Loki. Freaking, we're good either way.
You can literally just change it to Sylvie at this point. I'm still on board. I'm too invested not to be.
And she does the smart thing instead of getting rid of, Renslayer. She's like, I want to know everything. And here's the thing, she's got the powers to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So strap her in a chair. Let's see what's going on. And that's where the show ends, freaking until we get the credit scene.
Which, if you weren't a typical Marvel fan, you wouldn't have stuck around for. But I literally, as soon as the episode finished, I was just so much in shock. I just let the episode keep playing, forgetting that Marvel will occasionally do this. And then the scene happened. I'm like, oh, wow, this works. And then literally it opens up and Loki's like, am I dead? Am I in hell? No, this isn't hell. Huh. And then you hear Hugh Grant's voice of, hey, we gotta do some stuff. He didn't say that specifically, but you hear Hugh Grant's voice. And the characters that are shown at the very, very end right there, you have boastful Loki on the far left, who looks like he's holding some kind of modified Mjolnir, which I think that's pretty cool. You have Kid Loki, who is literally on top of Crocodile Loki, which is a whole new character, and I immediately want like a plush toy made of, because I would absolutely rock Crocodile Loki somewhere on the show.
I'm waiting on Disney to drop that freaking, get it from the kids. They love Loki.
And then you have classic Loki, which is Hugh Grant, old costume on the right.
Because Richard E. Grant freaking plays freaking classic Loki, and then Kid Loki is played by Jack Veal. So that with those two are famous to Marvel lore, and so that the boastful Loki, and so that is the new character, so that like he's not recognized by me, and so that freaking as far as I know, he is new to the MCU. I haven't seen him before. And the actor that plays him, I can't say the actor's name, so that it's like the Dagua. I can't even say his freaking
We
name.
apologize that we suck
I
at
look,
pronouncing
I
names
butcher.
here.
Look, I butcher names. Everybody who don't know, freaking just know Diobia Operai, Diobia
With all
Operai.
intensive apologies to the actor,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
our
hey, look,
bad.
every bit of apology. You look badass as fuck. I'm just cutting what it is. Like, I'm waiting for him to swing that fucking hammer he got or
Look,
whatever.
that is a big Loki, and he
Yeah,
looks strong as shit. Like if you put
shit.
Loki's power set mixed in with Mjolnir, you got
Yeah.
something. Like
So freaking yeah, it's something going on, and then we got freaking Crocodile Loki, Croaky, shit, freaking,
that's a
hey,
thing. You may have just started something right there.
like he could be freaking whatever. I like his little hat with little
That's
horns.
that's their version of Baby Yoda.
So hey, like it's about to go down. Who knows how many other Lokis are in place with that? But just the fact that they showed up and it's like, yo, shit's about to get freaking into some real madness here because
Like
you
it
got all
wasn't
these
mad
freaking
enough
Lokis.
beforehand. This
Yeah,
episode
and then
was bad.
and where is he is the question because
Did that not look
okay,
like Avengers Tower in the back right
that
corner
was
that
that
had
was
fallen
that
apart?
that was the tower. That was the
Like
tower in
that
the
New York
background.
had just been assimilated, and then it was like,
Yeah,
why does that have that weird edge? Why does that kind of look like a
yeah,
oh
that's
shit?
where Iron Man's coming to do his landings and stuff. So it's some form of Earth at some point in time and stuff like that where he's at. And again, this is where we've seen throughout the trailer. We've seen President Loki throughout the trailer and stuff like that. We've got 2 episodes left, so it's a chance that we could see that as another Loki or
The
our
current
Loki
Loki.
become that Loki. Like, yeah, like, we don't know. Yeah, we could literally get freaking because they're doing all these time tropes. Don't be surprised we get Tom Hiddleston playing opposite himself in a scene later on.
Like
So
he's
like,
debating himself for the office of president at some point. You're just like, oh,
it's
will
like
he
was
win
it
anyway?
Futurama is like I'm Jack Johnson, I'm John Jackson, we're running for president, and like shit, okay,
Or
cool,
if you go
whatever.
like akin to Rick and Morty, like the Council of Ricks, you have one Rick debating another Rick, and you're just like,
Who's superior?
technically, you're right, no matter what.
Yeah. So
It's one of those weird time travel loops, but as we've broken down the episode succinctly, I thought the Renslayer stabbing Loki with the pruning, I thought that was akin to like the first Avengers movie when Loki stabbed Coulson in the back when he thought he got him, but then right on through and then unite the Avengers. The timeline goes the way it does. I thought that was a nice little callback there. Was there any other Easter eggs you got before we kind of like wrap this up and give some
I
red string what we're looking forward to?
I gotta get in there and freaking really look through it a bit more. So that they mentioned bringing in several things, Creed, Titans, and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that you brought in Titans and stuff like that freaking means who knows, you might have walked Thanos through these halls at one point because he did some shit. Like anything could freaking have happened. So it's like I gotta really go back through and watch everything to see what's going on. But everything is pretty solid freaking where we stand right now. No other Easter eggs that are sitting
You just see
at the
Rhodey
forefront.
walking through the background with baby Thanos, and you're just like they paid off that joke. That'd be something to see. But as far as Red String goes, and I know we talked about this a little before we got on air, and like I accidentally said something that I thought was profound, so I'm just gonna say it. Let the listeners say something back. See how you feel about it. The TVA at this point. What if the vents that are being pruned in such a manner that whoever the big bad is at the end, which we're all right now literally riding Kang the Conqueror's coattails on. What if all the timeline events are being pruned to ensure that the sequence of events necessary for Kang the Conqueror to rise to power and to take over the universe is the TVA's main objective? It's not variances that are being taken out of, it's people who can stop him are being pruned from the timeline.
I love this theory and stuff like that, and this is where I was going with it and stuff like that. Freaking, you literally freaking said it in such a way that is beautifully put, sir. Like freaking, I love the way that you put it all together because my mind's like a bag of cats. You smell crazy on me, I swear. So when going through this and stuff like that, and this entire breakdown, right now what you said is at the forefront and stuff like that. The other option that I was looking at with this, so that also was what happens like when we saw Loki get pruned, and we saw he ended up somewhere else. What if everything being pruned is not being deleted but moved? It's like that, and being moved to a different location.
Or a different
What if
timeline even.
what if he's building an empire and stuff like that, freaking of certain things, or he's like again removing all the variants and all the variant places and storing them in a different place, which is causing the multiverse of madness and stuff like that because he's creating another multiverse and so like that with all of this leftover material. So that he's taking it all, he's using it all for something. So that like, and literally what I'm thinking, freaking, and what you're thinking, I literally think you are one and the same. And so that like all this is being done to keep a certain trajectory on point for things to happen. And there's going to be a bigger variable. Like I think that the Loki's of that are going to be a hiccup. He's going to have, I think something else is going to be figured out to go around them or whatever, because I think they're going to succeed in fucking up whatever they need to fuck up and stuff like that just to get it going.
But they're
And so
gonna
that,
have still like a larger mission at hand to go.
but yeah,
take
it's gonna force him to maybe step in a little bit more and stuff like that, freaking to do what he needs to do. Kang's gonna
Basically
have to,
akin to what Thanos did when he sent Loki. He's like, okay, Loki's like my short-term goal. He's gonna go get this job done for me. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna get my hands dirty. But then he sees that Loki fucks up in the Avengers, and he's like, fine, all right, I'll put the glove on. I'll go to work. I'll get the job done myself. Everybody else seems to suck at it. Kind of what they'd be doing with Kang here in the long-term build-up, because we know we don't. Technically, we don't see him officially till we get to Quantum Mania. So, I mean, we're not saying they're not going to sneak him in because they didn't say anything about Lady Civ, but
yeah.
Is there anything else from the episode moving forward? What do you want to see next episode?
Honestly, I want to see what's going down to the Lokis. Like the next episode can completely focus on these other Lokis and what's going on and what their objective is. Because they say like you're not dead, you don't come with us. Like yo, all right, we got another one. Like we now have 5 Lokis. We need to go start our plan or whatever we got going on. Because it seems like they were waiting on him. They were waiting on another Loki to show up and so like that, and they got something going on. Something's planned. So it looks like they got the
like they had
stealth.
their bag of cats, and now they're about to let them loose and just
Yeah,
see what happens.
it's like you got this. You got the small Loki, freaking be stealth. So you got an animal Loki, which can go in undetected. You got a classic Loki who's freaking been through years.
But
Got
fine
so much freaking
undetected, because
knowledge.
if you see a crocodile walking by with
Hey man,
the Loki horn sticking on, and be like, "What is that abomination?"
but
Loki, it's adorable.
But it's a Loki crocodile, which means it can go invisible and duplicate. So it can probably do a lot of things.
If you give me like the James Bond like sneaky music with that crocodile, Marvel, I will love you even more than I already do.
It'll work.
Because that was the only other thing we said when we were talking is like, look, Marvel is just a whole different entity, and they're playing on a whole different plane than what we've seen done television wise while orchestrating a straight comic book idea and turning it into this whole cinematic universe that we're seeing. It's different, but at the same time it's sort of the same. You have anything else from the next episode that you're looking forward to, or is that you just want to see the Lokis?
I want to see the Lokis in action and stuff like that, and I want to see what Renslayer knows.
I think we're not going to get Renslayer till like 2 episodes from now. I think they're going to kind of do like at the very end of the very next episode, they'll be like, all right, go jump back to the interrogation, and Renslayer will be like, all right, so this is, and then fade to black, keep on moving on, nothing happened. But I think next episode, I'd be completely content with trying to get some kind of timeline established for where all these other Lokis were pruned from, what happened, how they got there, why the Battle of New York went that way, because I'm assuming that's the scene of events that led to that kind of destruction. And I really just want my Crocodile Loki plush. So Disney, can you get on that? Because I got room on my shelf. I will make it happen. It'll either be a pop or it'll be a plush. It'll be something. I got room. I'm just saying, I'll get another shelf. I have space. But thank you guys for checking out Grown A Geeks episode 4 recap. If you stuck with us through the whole thing, be sure If you're not subscribed, just subscribe now. We have a lot of great content going on. We had our Marvel Draft series dropped. We have Gag on These Balls. We have a new TV show going on called What's the Topic, where we just talk about things that we love and enjoy. We have a top 5 series that's amazing. We have so much good stuff. Be sure to not miss out on that. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every time we drop a new series. Not everything may be your cup of tea, but we've got enough good stuff going on that we'd like you to be along for the ride. If you like what we did, hit that like button. For Brent, who's been hosting for Jeff, not doing as adequately, but happy to be here. And we still have the man, the myth, the marvel, the wielder of the infinity gauntlet of nerddom, Will Parker up top. Thank you for stopping by.